Every night, I look up and I see those stars. I try to count them. I was challenged to at one time. I was told, count the stars. And I try, and I look up to them, and I start going on one corner, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I keep going across the sky. And somewhere along the middle, I get kind of confused. Did I count that one or not? And they all start kind of looking the same after a while. And to be honest, my vision isn't what it used to be either. So it's getting hard to see them all in the minute details that I used to be able to see them in. But as I look up at the stars, I'm reminded of a promise that God gave me 15 years ago, back when I was 75 years old. Now I'm 90 years old, so no wonder my vision isn't what it used to be. But oh, that sky is so etched in my mind. I remember it so well because I've looked at it night after night for years upon years. And I see those stars, and I'm reminded of the time when I heard God call out my name. He said, Abraham. Abraham. I didn't even know there was a God, but this was the God. And you know, I used to have lots of little wooden and stone idols in my tent that I would pray to, and those were my ideas of what God was. And I thought, wow, I'm very successful in my life. Things are going very well. I've been blessed with all sorts of herds and flocks and lots of land to roam on, and I just thought it was all of those little idols blessing my life. And then all of a sudden I get this revelation that, well, those aren't anything to do with God, but there is the God. There is a God out there, and He actually knows my name. Those little idols never called out my name. They never said anything to me. I just hoped that they would be able to guide my life. But all of a sudden, when I'm looking up at the stars, I hear this voice come out, yells my name, Abraham, Abraham. It was pretty amazing to hear His voice. Have you ever heard God's voice? Do you know what it sounds like? Well, I don't know what it sounds like for you, but I know what it sounded like for me. And even though it happened 15 years ago, I could just hear it so plainly in my head. No doubt about it. Even though I didn't really know who God was, and even though it kind of threw me by surprise, I realized that this is a voice I need to listen to. And that night, 15 years ago, God had a message He wanted to give to me specifically. And when He gave me that message, He gave it in two ways. He gave it as a command and a promise. The command part, God said, I want you to get up and go to the place where I'm leading you. Get up and go. And I said, where, God? And He said, I'll show you. Just get up and go. Just take a step, and I'll show you what the next step is. Take a step, and I'll show you the next step. And I had no idea where I was going to be going. In fact, leaving wasn't necessarily in my plans, because here I am, I'm 75 years old. I'm ready to slow down in life. I've got other people helping take care of the livestock. I can kind of sit back and relax, and I'm comfortable where I'm at, but then God, this voice is telling me, get up and go. And where to, I don't know, but He says go. And of course, I had to come home and talk to my wife, Sarah, about it. And she was quite confused at the message that we had gotten, because she didn't have any plans that she wanted to get up and leave either. But my wife really trusts me. I mean, she's a wonderful woman, and I tell you, I don't know if I would believe her if she came home with the story that I came home with, that, well, the voice of God came out of nowhere and told me that we were supposed to pick up and go. And where to? That was a mystery as well. But she really trusted me and accepted my words, and I thought that was pretty amazing. Most of our relatives didn't get the picture. In fact, as we took off to leave, they said, hey, we're going to send your nephew Lot with you. He's going to go with you, along with you, because you guys are kind of need somebody to keep an eye out after you. And so Lot and his family came along as well. And I guess all the relatives didn't really trust us old folks that we'd be okay out on the road like that. But we took off and we went and we went and we went and we got to the place where God said, stop. This is your land. Look around you. This is yours. And actually things went pretty good in that new land. We had lots of different neighbors who already lived there, but they accepted us and we got along peacefully and everything went well with our flocks and our herds. All the livestock were doing great. We actually did very well there. And so we've lived there for 15 years now, and it's gone okay. But that was the easy part of what God had to say, because back on that night when he appeared and he said, look at the stars, he gave a promise. He said, look at the stars and count them, because as many stars as you see out there, that is the number of your offspring. That's the number of people who are going to follow you. And that was his promise, but it seemed very strange because, frankly, Sarah and I have never had children. And we didn't know if it was a problem with her womb or my seed or what the problem was, but during all those years of trying to have a child, it just didn't happen to us. We prayed to our little idols about it, but there was no answer to that prayer. And of course, for my wife, Sarah, her maternal heart just ached. It was something that we had to just give up as time went along, and finally the time of her being able to bear children passed, and we realized this was one thing in our life that wasn't going to happen. My wife Sarah is so beautiful. She is one of the most beautiful women around, and everybody thinks so. Everywhere we go, everybody says, you've got the most beautiful wife. How does she does it? What does she put on her skin? How does she... everybody's amazed by her. She is so beautiful. But even in all that beauty, she said she would trade that in if she could have a child. But it didn't happen for her, and it didn't happen for us. And the crazy thing about it is that when I was born, I wasn't given the name Abraham. That came along later. God changed my name, but my given name when I was born was actually Abram. One syllable short from Abraham. Abraham means honored father. That's the name I was given at birth, honored father. Because first of all, my father was so wonderful. He was such a godly man. He was just so wonderful. And I was named in honor of him, but also with the hope that I would pass on that honor of being an honored father as well. And so I'm going around my whole life with the name honored father, but I wasn't a father. And then God comes along, and in that message that you're going to be a father, he says, I'm going to change your name and add a syllable in there, and instead of being Abram, you're going to be Abraham, which means father of many. Father of many? Is this some joke? I mean, is God, as marvelous as his voice is he sadistic? Is he just joking, playing games with us, toying around with something? And so now I've got to go around and introduce myself as Abraham, father of many. And everybody says, oh, tell us about your kids then. Tell us about your grandkids. Show us pictures. And of course, I have nothing to show for it. So my name kind of taunts me and haunts me, and I'm just having to live with that, being not only honored father, but now father of many, but yet there's been no results of that. God said he wanted to change Sarah's name too. By one letter. Her name used to be Sarai. And they took the I and changed it to an H at the end, made it Sarah. When she was Sarai, her name meant princess. And she was a princess. As I told you, she was beautiful. And she was truly a princess in my world as well. But God took one letter and changed it and made her Sarah, which means mother of many. Okay? The joke was on her too. She didn't like that very well because that was kind of embarrassing to go out in public and you're known as mother of many, but you have never had a child. So she kind of had to live with that, and we had to kind of grapple with that, and we weren't sure that we liked the name change, but well, that's what God said, and we'll go along with it, just like we walked in faith to the new land. We believe that God has something up his sleeve, but it's been 15 years. We're not sure how long we got to wait, and we're not getting any younger. If it was hard to happen when we were 75 and 65, and we have a 10-year age difference, If it was hard back then to have a child, 15 years have gone by. Now we're 90 and 80. Even if we did have a child, who's got the energy to take care of it and keep up with it? I mean, I'm just keep going, God, do you know what you're doing there? Like, what in the world are you doing? Why did you pick somebody young? Why did you pick some young couple that's just starting out in life and let them do this? Why are you picking on us? It's kind of what it felt like. But when God told us, look at the stars and count them, he also said, if that's not enough, look at the sand around you. Look at all those grains of sand. And just like those grains of sand, that will be the number of your offspring as well. And I can't tell you how many times I've reached down, I've picked up a handful of sand thinking, I'm going to start counting this. Have you ever tried to count sand? Like, you're pulling together all these little grains, and that is a very futile task. If it's hard to count the stars, try counting the sand. It is very impossible to do that. But I would hold the sand so many times, and it would just sift through my fingers and just fall back to the ground again. And I kind of felt like that was kind of what was happening to our hopes as well. Day after day, year after year is going by, and just like that sifting sand, I remember God said it. I believe that it's true, but it sure is hard to believe on the day-to-day basis. Just like the sand that goes through the hourglass, time just keeps ticking away. And I keep saying, okay, God, where is that promise? When's it going to happen? You said I'm going to be a father, and I don't know how and when and everything. It seems crazy. And you've said that you want my seed to be a blessing to the whole world. That you're doing this not just because you're a nice God and you want us to be happy parents, but you have a plan. You have a plan that's so much bigger than anything that we've seen already in time and history. And you said that you want to let this child be the start of something that's going to bless people for time and time to come. So it's kind of exciting to think that I will be father to a child that's going to be a blessing to the whole world. Imagine that. Imagine waiting for a promised child that's going to bless the whole world. A child to bless the whole world. That's a promise that we're looking forward to. In probably more ways than one. You know, it's like I think about this promise that God's given us, and I think, I know I heard that voice. Sometimes I doubt it. Did I really hear it? Is that really what God said? It would have been so much easier. I wish that God would have just sent a prophet that would tell us everything that we needed to know about him and all the things we need to do and all the promises, that he would just write it down in a book. If God could just give us a book that we could go back to when we start doubting and we need our faith to be strong, if we could just read that book of all of God's promises and who he is, it would be so much easier to believe it than just some word out of the blue or out of the black. If I were God, I would give us a book. That would be a great revelation of him. But God says I need to have faith in something that's going to be. Faith in something that's going to be, something that I can't yet see. That's really complicated. It's easy to have faith in things that have already been. People to look back and to know through history God worked in a certain way, and to be able to look back through the testimony of other people and to be able to say, these are things about God that's been revealed. If we look back hundreds of years, thousands of years, it would be so easy to have faith in what was already done. But to have faith in what might happen in the future, that's hard. That is tough. But God said, hold on. See what he's got in store. See that truly he will not be fulfilling his promises to allow our seed to be a blessing for many. So I'm holding on to faith. Faith in something that I can't see, but yet I know it's there. Somehow, some way, God who spoke it will bring it to pass. Because that's who he is. He's at least let me know that he's faithful. He's let me know that that's the kind of God that he is, and who but God could come up with something like this? A plan so crazy that it would be hard to imagine. But who but God, who but you, God, could do something like this? Judy, hold on. There's going to be a music clip and then that.